Hey ladies, today is Sunday, December 20th, 2020, 75 weeks. Postpartum says 17 months and 2 weeks, I think. I can't believe it's 5 days until Christmas. It's crazy. Time has just been literally just speeding by, and this has been the quickest year ever. I guess for some people, that's a good thing. For me, it has been tremendous getting to spend so much time with Michaela and witnessing so much of her development. And I will always be grateful for this. It's truly priceless. Even though I am also working at home, I totally understand when you're a stay-at-home mom or stay-at-home parent, being able to witness all of this. Yeah, it can be tiring, but like I said, it's priceless. I know I would have missed so much of this had the world not been shaken up with this coronavirus. So I'm truly thankful and grateful for the opportunity to see Michaela develop as much as she has. She's talking so much. She's learning so much. I mean, she's like a whole person, which is weird because, I had this little they start out as these little lumps and they are literally lumps of clay, and you kind of have to, help them mold. They come with their own little personalities, but you kind of have to, help mold them. And so we've been doing a lot of the Your Baby Can Read program, and reading and talking and dancing, and she has just developed in leaps and bounds. She can read a little bit, certain words she recognizes, um, which is reading, recognizing a word written, and understanding what it means. So she can do that with at least a handful, if not more, words. It snowed recently here. We got about in New York about, I don't know, 6 inches where I'm at, and maybe a little more. I don't know what the final total was, but she went outside. Um, I think this was Wednesday or Thursday. She went on Thursday. She went outside for her first snow, her first real snow. Now, last winter it didn't really snow a lot here, which I like because I am anti-winter, anti-snow. And yeah, so she didn't really get to experience all of that. But this winter, she got to get out there in the snow, and she loved it. I'm not a snow person, like I said, so I'm not really. I tried to get into it with her, but I'm like, it's cold. I'm over it 2 minutes. But we stayed out there about 15, 20 minutes, which is more than sufficient. And well, it was really like 10 minutes. And then I brought her in and she started crying to go back out. So I brought her back out and we did another like 5 to 10 minutes. I didn't count, but it felt like 5 to 10 minutes. So yeah, and then when I brought her back in, she actually cried a whole lot more because she wanted to continue playing in the snow. So I did a few snowballs. I didn't do a snowman. I did like a mini snowman with like three snowballs, but that was about it. And but she enjoyed it after she got the hang of it. So that was nice to see. And again, something I got to do because I was here during the day, so I was able to take her out. If I had to go to the office, by the time I would have gotten home, it would have been dark and we wouldn't have been able to do it. So again, I'm super happy about that. And let me see, how else is she developing? Um, she's really into climbing. I think I mentioned that to you guys. Don't underestimate, if your child's not there yet, don't underestimate the climbing. Like, they do love to climb. And so climbing and talking and really developing her fine motor skills um, are things that we're working on now. In that is also sensory development. So I'm not into snow. I'm not super into messiness. I know that that's really good for toddlers and babies, to learn, like to play in different textures and feel different textures. So if they're feeding themselves, smashing the food and all of that's supposed to be a good thing. I see it as mess. I know it's messed up, but They learn a lot from that. Like there's all these different brain connection, that they make from touching different textures. And so I'm trying to get more into that. I have not been good at that. Matter of fact, at her 15-month doctor appointment, her doctor was like, "You gotta let her get messy. You gotta do more messy stuff." And I was like, You come by and clean it up. You do more messy stuff." But I'm trying to get into that. So the snow was a good sensory activity for her because she got to like feel the snow and how it was cold and it melts and wet and all of that stuff. So that was great. And then also recently I did something called moon sand. Now this is the end result of it, but I have it in a little bag for storage. But let me just show you. So I actually got this recipe online or email. You know how you have a baby, you sign up for all these things, and they track you forever, and they send you emails about your child's development, where they're at based off of their age. So I got something talking about doing sensory activities, which is something I am trying to get into. So moon sand is made with 8 cups of flour, 1 cup of oil, and you can pretty much use any oil. You can use baby oil, you can use coconut oil, of course, if you melt it, or if it's liquid, you can use any oil. But it's 8-to-1, so 8 cups of flour to 1 cup of oil. Now, if you want to make less, this is about 8 cups, but this is after she played with it, so there is some missing, because she threw it around. But this is roughly, you might have a little more, but I did do 8 cups of flour when I made it, and this was left of that, so maybe it's 7 or something, I don't know. But I made 8 cups of flour to the 1 cup of oil. But if you want to make less, or you want to add to, it's an 8-to-1 ratio, so you can do 4 cups of flour, half a cup of oil, or whatever fraction you want to come up with. So I put it in like one of these bins that I've washed out since using it. But this is just a one of those shoe storage bins. So I put it in this, and it will be messy. So if you live in a warmer climate or somewhere and you want to do it outside, or that might be great. I think I don't mind messiness in the summer, maybe, if I can do it outside or when it's warm. But in the house, I'm like, what are you doing? So anyway, moon sand kind of looks like, I don't know, hopefully this texture is coming across. It's like a clumpiness, like it's not quite clay. You can form like, it clumps together more. I don't know if that's trying to get the texture to come across here, but you can make a little, not much. It's kind of like, it's not quite clay and it's not quite sand. It's not as so it still has a little bit of the floury texture, but it's not quite flour. It's like I said, it's just, I don't know, kids like it. So it's not as powdery as flour is, but it's not as you can see the remnants on my hand. So it's kind of like messing around with flour. But with sand, I think if you do sand with water, you can build different things. This, I wouldn't add any more water to it. I don't honestly know what would happen if you do add water. You probably end up with some sort of dough. Since it already has oil in it, and you add some water or flour, you probably end up with a dough, which is great too, actually, because playing with dough isn't a bad thing. And you could possibly add food coloring to it. I did not. That is the color of just the oil and the sand, the oil and the flour. I kind of just put it in this bin, which now has some remnants of it in there because I was just messing around with it. And I kind of let her just go to town. And she actually ended up sitting in this, even though it's small for her. She ended up kind of climbing in and sitting somewhat in this bin. And I did it somewhere in the house where I have hardwood floors. And I just, kind of let her do what she did. And what she did, she loved. When it was time to stop playing, she she was able to, she started crying again. She really wanted to continue playing with it. Um, I tried again to play with her with that, and when we first started, she seemed like not really interested. But then my husband started playing with her because he was getting all into the mess with her, and then she got really into it. And so that is a thing, like, you got to get into the mess with them, and then they kind of get into it, because otherwise, unless you have a child who just naturally get into it, but Michaela kind of needs that extra coaching to get into it. But once she got into it, she got into it. And I want to make some homemade finger paints, which you can make with flour and salt and food coloring, and I think some water. I think that's all you need to make the finger paints. There's recipes for homemade finger paints online. I was actually getting ready to buy some, and then the same email thread with website that showed me the moon sand was showing how to make homemade finger paints. Some other things to try is you can do like Cool Whip, or some people say shaving cream, but Cool Whip is edible, and you could put some food coloring in that and let them kind of mess around with that. And again, it's going to be messy. So maybe, have an apron, or no clothes at all, just a diaper maybe. Um, there's also some other things that I've been watching in the your baby can learn, your baby can read videos. They show a lot of different sensory activities, like letting them play with chocolate pudding. It's edible. They also the colors. They've done butternut squash and smashed that up. Um, Cornmeal, just playing it, not even any recipes, just taking this stuff and letting your child kind of touch and textures and stuff. So it's a ton of stuff you can use. You could use flour without the oil and just kind of let them play in it. I'm sure they'll have fun with that without it being moon sand. um, but it's a whole bunch of stuff that they did. You can even do, I saw something that was talking about putting dirt and adding a little water, basically making a mud, and hiding little toys, like little plastic toys in it, and letting the child go through the mud and find it. That is truly dirty. But again, another sensory activity that they might like. I think right now I like the ones where it's something edible, because if she puts it in her mouth, which she inevitably will, at this age, if she was a little older, maybe she wouldn't, but she still kind of will put some things in her mouth. So, something that I don't have to worry about her eating, is great. And I know some people say do rice, uncooked rice, but uncooked rice, if she puts it in her mouth, she could choke on. So I'm not okay with that one, at least not at this age. But different things. It's just anything could really be a sensory activity. I think it's really just about being open-minded about it. And you don't have to spend a lot of money on them. It could just be any household item that you have, and just letting them feel the texture. I'm sure you could probably use like sugar or something grainy, just so they could feel the texture on that. One of the things that they did on the video was they grew salt crystals on sponges and used food coloring to turn the crystals blue and different colors. So that's not something we've tried yet, but it's something I might eventually get around to, because you got the sponge, which is spongy, and then you have this graininess of the salt crystal. So different type of textures are things that help them learn in ways, and help their brains make different connections. And so just something to try if you get around to it. And if anyone has any other ideas, let me know. But like I said, if you want to do the moon sand, just remember 8 cups of flour, 1 cup of water, 1 cup of oil. It's pretty simple, even though I just messed that up. 8-to-1, 8 cups of flour, 1 cup of oil. Oil. I don't know why I want to say water. Oil, not water. Although I guess you could do water, but that won't be moon sand. That'll be dough. But anyway, ladies, I will talk to you soon. After Christmas, probably. Have a wonderful Merry Christmas. Stay safe.